All right, you great balls. It's time to dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blanford.
I'm Ben Simpson.
I'm Matt Donovan.
And we wish it was the 90s. Well, hello there, listeners. Welcome into a podcast sequel for the Wish It Was the 90s crew. Today, we are covering the sequel to Pocket Monsters Red and Blue with Pokemon Gold and Silver. Pokemon Gold and Silver was released in 1999 on Game Boy Color, and it was critically acclaimed upon release. So much so that actually it's been re-released as Heart Gold and Soul Silver. To discuss Pokemon Gold and Silver, we've brought back Simpy from a previous Poke Pod and friend of the pod, Matthew DZ Donovan. Gentlemen, since you're not on the pod often, I'd just like you to let the audience know a little bit more about yourself by giving us a Pokemon that best suits your personality. We'll start with you, Simpy.
Had a little look through today, looking at all the different Pokemon. Definitely, I'm a Gengar. Few reasons for that. Most Pokemon definitely rub some people up the wrong way. You either love them or you hate them, and that's definitely my sense of humour. And he's always up for a laugh. He's a cheeky little fella, wants to have a bit of fun. So Gengar was definitely my spirit animal, or spirit Pokemon, you could say.
That's good. I believe maybe it's not. There's a ghost Pokemon in future called Spirit Tomb, which is neither here nor there. DZ, yours, please.
For me, maybe it's a hangover from the TV show and possibly the first generation playthrough I had in Pokemon Blue, but I'd have to say that I think I'd fit in pretty well on the Squirtle squad, just between the three of us. And obviously now all the podcast listeners, pretty cool, calm, collected, and real leader in the group there. So that's definitely me to a T, I think.
I definitely thought you were going to say Diglett.
I thought you were going to say you're a Squirtle because your head looks a lot like Squirtle's shell, but
Yeah.
No, those are great. I said ditto for me. I like to transform different personalities every now and then, Not sure that's a good thing when you get old, mental health and things like that.
It's the mime, maybe.
Yeah, so actually what's happened over the last couple of weeks is Ben and DZ and I have all found ways to play through Pokemon Gold or Silver. I believe I played through Gold, and I think DZ played through Silver. I'm not sure. What do you do, Sim?
Gold.
Gold. So there's minimal differences, really, just some Pokemon differences, really. But we've played through that. We're not going to run you through our playthrough just to get us a little bit more familiar before we talk about it. But I was amazed to hear that after Ben being so knowledgeable and about Pokemon Red and Blue, that he had never played Pokemon Gold or Silver. So we'll just start with the game in general, and I think you'd be a good person to start with, Ben. What did you think of the game in general? There's a change in scene. We've got the Johto region. We've got a new prof. We've still got a dickhead rival, which I definitely named Gary.
Times.
Different gyms, Team Rocket's still there, 16 badges. What do you think?
I actually really struggled to get into it, to be honest. I think whether it's a hangover from being, so into the red, blue, yellow games of the past. So I struggled with the new storyline. I struggled even mentally getting my head around where I was going, new gyms, new badges, new cities, even just the layout, because I guess I'm so used to, I've gone back to the old ones, regularly throughout the last 20 years or so, that I definitely struggled trying to figure out where I needed to go and what I needed to do, and I probably wasn't giving it as much of my full attention as I needed to. The challenge for me was I tried to give myself and only use new Pokemon, so then Gen 2 Pokemon, But the issue with that is then Gyarados popped up and I'm just an absolute sucker. And I can't quit him. I never will. I'd have a Gyarados if I was playing the latest version as well because I absolutely love Gyarados. And so from there, I kind of just stuck to my old ways and had the Pokemon that I liked from the previous version. Yeah, I'd say that I struggled a bit just to get into it, unfortunately.
Was it the red Gyarados or the blue Gyarados?
I really wanted the red Gyarados, and I made a massive fuck up and killed him, and it broke me. I actually couldn't I had to put the game down for a couple of days because I've never seen a red Gyarados before, and I was really excited.
Yeah, I believe it's the first gen that, or I think there's shinies in Gen 2, which I believe that's considered a shiny. Deezy, what about yourself, mate?
Yeah. So I'd played it as a wee lad. Actually, funnily enough, found my old cartridge the other day. Refound that, so that's good. My old silver cartridge. Yeah, definitely.
Did you blow into it?
Gave it the wee blow for luck. Yeah, so at least the second playthrough for me, and yeah, I mean, because of that, I already had a feel for some of the features. Obviously, it was just a matter of, sort of remembering them and things like that. I get what you say, Simp. It is a bit of a grind at the start, that classic, get your first Pokemon, can't catch any more Pokemon, got to battle away to the next city with none of the other, nice trappings of the game. So yeah, it is definitely a bit of a grind, and for sure could see you not being able to immerse yourself in it again as well. At this point in all of our lives, obviously it's not the late 90s anymore. Yeah, it was still a bit of fun. I'm definitely more of a first 151, a Gen 1 sort of fan as well. So yeah, a bit of a, yeah, I think some of the Gen 2 Pokemon were a letdown, but we'll get into that anyway. But yeah, it's, to me, not the hardest of games, I'll put it that way. They're made for the youth of today, or the youth of the day, aren't they? And yeah, I found it a bit easy, really. When you know a bit about the types and things, it's, yeah, you can work your way through fairly quickly, can't you?
I'd agree.
Yeah.
Even struggling with it, I definitely didn't find it difficult. Whether that's because of the starting Pokemon that I had, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I found like I got through quite a lot of the gyms quite quickly, didn't get whited out, which I thought was an interesting addition to this one, not being blacked out, whether that's I don't know why they chose that way, whether it was different or what's going on. But cut that out.
Keep that in.
Keep that in.
If
it's still in, it
yeah,
didn't go well.
I find it difficult. Like, I didn't really know a lot of the Pokemon I was using, and didn't really know what didn't look fully into what types they were, and still found it quite simple to get through. Had a few moves that were good, and kind of just stuck to those moves, and got through a lot of the gyms quite quickly till about Gym 6, which is where I.
Yeah, so I don't know whether it was the way that I played it. I found it really. I didn't find it that easy, actually, and I think maybe it was because of the starter that I had, which we'll get into soon. But I have played a lot of Pokemon in the last sort of 10 years. I first played this with my cousins, Ollie and Elliot Pike, on their Game Boy Color. And that was the only time I could play it. I didn't have my own one until I sort of discovered the world of emulators later in life. But I attempted to Nuzlocke Pokemon Gold, which for those Pokemon newbies out there, it's basically if a Pokemon dies, he dies or she dies, and you have to put them in your box and not use them again, and you can't catch another one of those. You also have to catch the first Pokemon that goes in that you encounter. So that made it a little bit more difficult for me. But not only that, I think there's just so much grinding, and the Pokemon in the wild are like such low levels. For a long time, you don't get a Pokemon over like level 5. It's just really difficult to level your Pokemon up, I found, unless you put in hours of grinding, which 12-year-old Sam would have reveled in, but 34-year-old Sam did not.
Yeah, and especially at the end as well. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, especially at the end as well, like you're trying to level up to take on the Elite Four and get to a reasonable level. And like all the Pokemon are just like 15 levels below where you need them to be, and you just piddling up the XP. It's like, oh, I'll fight anyone, mate. I'll take anyone on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's probably where I was
speaking-
saying, where I said, sorry, that I didn't probably play the game as to the best of the abilities. Like using the phone was something new, so you can obviously trainers call you and tell you what's going on and where they are, and they can fight you again. I didn't really do anything of that because I didn't know what the hell was going on. But I'm assuming that that's a way, to get your Pokemon to battle again, so you can level them up, because you need to. Like again, I finished with my top Pokemon, a pretty good level. The rest of them was a struggle street for me.
Yeah, that's a great segue into our next section, which is around the changes that were made between Gen 1 and Gen 2. But just before we do make that segue, Simpson mentioned it, that you had trouble with the 6th gym. So I reckon there's some really, really difficult gym leaders. I found Whitney, who was the 3rd gym, and she had like a Miltank that was really difficult.
Mate, fuck Miltank. Honestly, that gym. I mean, I say I struggle with not many of them. That fucking Miltank took me so long because that rollout move is so good.
Rollout on the 3rd and 4th hits just like absolutely destroys you.
Yeah, I got so angry just constantly getting just destroyed.
Coupled with attract and what's the other one? It's got a milk drink or something. And headbutt makes you flinch.
Milk drink's such a cheesy move as well, eh? Like just as you're like whittling them down, like, oh, milk drink, thanks.
Yeah, I thought Jasmine, the steel one, the Steelix in particular, was really difficult. The evolved form of the Onyx.
Definitely challenging.
Key to that Whitney one is trading for that Machop when you was it like a Bellsprout for a Machop or something like that? Like that you can just smoke them with a fighting type Pokemon, and there's like I don't think a chance to get one before that. That's why she's really tricky. I think if you don't have that, it's like a real challenge.
Yeah,
Fire as well. Fire types not bad against Steel, if I'm correct.
Yes, Fire.
Fire against Steel. Yeah, that was one of the gyms that was particularly easy with that.
Oh well, yeah, probably because you had friggin' Typhlosion or something. And I felt the dragon, the Claire, the dragon was very difficult. There's only a couple, only Ice and maybe Theory in later generations that's strong against dragon. But anyway, there were lots of changes that were made from Gen 1 to Gen 2, and some were good, some were bad. Did you guys pick up on some that you thought were good, or did you, or maybe ones that have influenced other Pokemon iterations since then? Deezy, we'll start with you, mate.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty obvious addition to the game, but the big one, and it had made a difference in future ones as well. Just the whole time system, the day and night. And the recording of the days as well. From memory, I think that's been I had Pokemon Shield that I played for like a while before getting bored of it, and that was different Pokemon would come out at different you see all these different ones in the day and night, and there's a really cool feature. I don't know if there's a random hut you stop in like towards the end. I can't remember, it's before you beat the Elite Four or whatever, and you can read a little book that talks about like the weekday people or something like that, and so they pop up at a different city on a different weekday, and you can get like free items off them, and so it'll be like a ghost type enhancer and stuff like that. So I thought that was a really cool feature. To put that in, and probably wouldn't have taken that much extra effort as well. Obviously real cool when you can only get a certain Pokemon at a certain time, and I thought that was great.
I've got that down, the nighttime and daytime encounters particularly. Simpy, anything from you, mate?
The holding items with your Pokemon I quite enjoyed. Especially when you could give them like things obviously to stop paralysis or whatever, and you knew you were versing, like obviously the first time you go into a gym, I definitely didn't look too much into it, and so I'd go in and kind of figure out what the Pokemon type was, and maybe I'd win, and if I didn't, I'd kind of go off and be like, alright, well how can I go back in there and make sure I don't lose again? So being able to give my Pokemon things that could hold because if I knew that I was going to get paralyzed constantly in this gym, I just give them things that obviously they can get rid of that quite quickly, and that was a big change. I really liked that change. That was really good.
And that has affected. That's a huge part of iterations of Pokemon that have followed Gen 2. So huge change from Gen 1. Another one I thought that was quite a big change was obviously there were a couple of new types introduced, Steel and Dark. But not only that, Pokemon could now be dual typed. So I don't think in Pokemon Gen 1 in Red and Blue that they could be two types. I could be wrong with that.
No, I think you're right there. I don't recall a Pokemon being two types.
Whereas now Charizard is fire flying, or is he fire dragon? Not a good example, anyway. I know Magnemite becomes steel and electric, whereas in Gen 1 he's just, or he or she, another change, is just electric. So I thought that's pretty much every Pokemon now is dual typed, and I thought that was a big change.
I think you might have missed out one new type as well, Fairy.
Yeah, I don't think Fairy was in Gen 2. Not
Oh, is it not? Is it later?
No, I think it was introduced later in I don't know, Gen 5 or 6 or something. But I don't think there are Fairy Pokemon who are Fairy Pokemon because they get it later. But I don't think Chansey is Fairy in this iteration.
Sure. Snubble is Snubble.
Snubble and Granbull. That's some bloody lazy Pokemon naming, eh?
Yeah, it is. I like
anything else.
Speaking of those types, introducing Dark was great because obviously Psychic dominate in Yellow and Red and Blue. There's nothing you can really do against them, or there's no kind of phase that is, no type. Start this again. I really liked the new addition with the Dark Pokemon because obviously the type against Psychic, Dark was fantastic against Psychic, which you just didn't have in Gen 1. And I really liked that addition because you needed it.
Well, that was a change as well, I think. So I think in Gen 1, Ghost wasn't super effective against Psychic, but now in Gen 2, Ghost and Dark are super effective against Psychic, as well as Bug or something like that.
Ghost was always good against Psychic, wasn't it? Because in the TV show, Ash had to catch that Ghastly or that Haunter or whatever, and to try and beat thing. I think it always was. I think you're right, Simpson, but I think it was the other way around. I think Ghost was real good against Psychic, but then nothing was really good against Ghost because no physical moves could mess with them. So then I think Dark was the counter to Ghost, while also not being that great against Psychic. It was kind of like a three-way wheel between those ones, so you couldn't quite cheese it. But good to definitely add that in.
Anything else from you, DZ?
I was going to say, you kind of touched on it before, but mentioning the genders, the new gender-specific Pokemon, I think there was a few gender-specific moves. I say gender-specific and I think Attract and stuff like that would cause the opposite, if you're fighting a Pokemon of the opposite sex, not to do certain things. It was something like that, wasn't it? Or there was certain moves that iterated between the sexes.
I think the main reason for the gender thing is I think now that you can breed Pokemon by leaving them together at the daycare, which is cool.
The daycare, it was the breeding eggs setup, which was definitely over my head and a bit of a laugh back in the day. But I'm sure other people have cracked the code on what to leave with what, and that it gives you a perfect result of something with it. Cause I think they can get different moves as well, can't they? If you breed certain types and
it's one of those things. I think obviously the game is massive. It's a massive game, and the grind. If you have that time, as you said, Sam, a 14-year-old, 12-year-old Sam Blanford would have had the time because you're doing nothing else to kind of go back to the daycare, do all those things. But as a 34-year-old man, you're wanting to just kind of get through. That's kind of what you're playing the game for. And maybe not.
And a 21-year-old Sam Blanford.
if you're a fan of doing those things. But if you have the time, like there's a lot that you can do and a lot you can go back and do, which I did really like. I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah. Last couple of things I've got is the trainers had different level Pokemon, whereas I think in Red and Blue, if you encountered one they all had the same level. But the thing I love the most, and it's very superficial, but it's the blue experience bar at in the trainer battles. That
Huge fan.
is awesome because it's not in
Yeah,
Red and Blue or
No.
Yellow, and just that feeling when it gets there and it does that little pop. That was fantastic.
Or just sits 1 XP away from cracking it.
But it's good to know because it means, like, if you are 1 XP away, you just go find some random bush that you can fight a little terrible level 5 Pokemon and get that 1 point, like, which is massive early when you want to, grind up quite quickly. Just knowing how many more people, fights you need to do before you level up and like before you evolve and those kind of things is really good. I bring something up that I don't know if it's good or not. I don't even know if it's just a gold silver thing, but it irritated me to no end. Why the fuck do some trainers have 5 Rattars that you have to fight them, or 4 Rattars in a row? Like, why am I fighting the same Pokemon 4 times? What's the point in that? Like, that really, really annoyed me because I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna beat them. I got to do it 4 times. What a waste of time.
I've definitely got it written down here in my notes. Trainers in general are just coobs, no diversification of their portfolio whatsoever. But maybe that fits with the law that being a Pokemon trainer is very hard, so most people have to specialize. That was all I could come up with for that. Because, like, to me, it makes no sense that you'd have, like you say, 5 Rattars. Like, get a Caterpie in there, mate. Get something different. Like, try and get a Butterfree at the end. Like, what are you up to?
I think, in general, the Pokemon creators have missed a bit of a trick, especially with, like, Team Rocket or the bad guys always have the same Pokemon. So you're right, like, you fight one, he's got 2 Rattatas and a Zubat, and then the next guy's got 2 Zubats and a Rattata, and then in the next level up, you're fighting a Golbat and a Raticate. It's like, I think they just missed a trick.
Don't forget coughing, wheezing. That's always a good lineup.
Yeah, look, not a fan of that. So I think that's I don't think that's necessarily gold silver but like relative, but I think it is a good thing to point out.
It just took a long time. It made the game take a lot longer because you just, rather than fighting, it's always good when you meet a trainer and they got 1 Pokemon. Stoked. I'm stoked.
At least not 5 Magikarps. Easy. Some bad things.
I had a couple of bad ones here. Do you want me to rattle off a few or just?
Yeah, rattle them off, mate. Rattle them off.
So, as Simpson said before, the cell phone, worst feature ever.
Oh, that is the worst.
I mean, I get that there is some use in what Simpson was saying in the rematch function, and I think when you do fight pit trainers with a rematch, like, it's handy. But I just remember when I first played being like, oh yeah, phone, real cool. And then getting called every 10 minutes about a swarm of something that I couldn't care to give 2 tosses about. Like, it was just, nah, no thanks. So I definitely took no one's phone number this game. No thanks. Oh, let me know if you want my number, bro. Nah, no worries.
I nearly caught a Poliwag the other day. I nearly had it. All right, bye. But yeah, I think it's to get swarm. Like, they have swarm Pokemon that just, like, that's how you like let know by certain Pokemon trainers, and then you can rematch them later. Some of them.
I think that's the handy part. Couple of random ones, one good, one bad, but the berry system. I think the berry system in general, pretty good. Like, it's just more items to carry, but at least they're like free and useful. Poison cures and paralyzed cures and random stuff like that. Pretty good there, really.
Pretty lazy, I thought, of them calling them a pigeon cure berry.
yeah, very lazy.
Would have been like, giving them something better. On a bit
I
better
get
with
it,
that
like,
one.
You couldn't call it like a lupin berry or something, and then they're like, well, what the fuck's a lupin? They're just introducing it, so I guess that's why
Yeah.
they called it a pizzin cure berry.
Yeah, true.
I think I hated that too, but as Simpson said, it's if you know what's coming in a fight, it's quite good to give them a held one like that will cure confusion or whatever.
I love how it's not like noted anywhere like before a gym battle now. Like you expect to walk up to the gym and it be like, such and such fights with bug type. Like it's pretty common knowledge and just like nothing, eh? Like a somewhat cryptic clue in some of them, like fights with the power of the glacier. Like, okay, I wonder what this one's gonna be. Like, okay, but yeah, pretty annoying that little wrinkle. Like, oh, you couldn't tell me what gym this is. But yeah. Pretty obvious, really, I suppose, isn't it? But, yeah.
I didn't really understand why, as well. Sorry, I don't know if it's good or bad. Was why would you want your mum to hold your money?
Yeah, I didn't quite.
Like I said yes because I haven't seen that feature before, so I was like, yeah, go on. And then she kept messaging me, calling me, being like, hey, I've bought you an item. It's in your thing. So I went and got it, and it was like a potion or something. Like, cheers for that.
Antidote.
That I could buy myself.
Yeah. So I think when you get to like items 4 and 5, they're pretty decent. Like one of them's a moonstone, which I think is like fairly hard to come by if you like want to use moonstones. I think I only found one other one myself. So I'm pretty sure she buys you a moonstone, which is quite handy for. But yeah, the rest are just like be like a hyper potion. Do you get in there, or a full restore or something?
Yeah, something like that. But I didn't really understand why, like the point of giving her some of the cash that I got from battles. I didn't really understand why it was good, apart from her buying obviously some items.
I mean, you're a 12-year-old.
I was like, oh my god, she's got heaps of money.
Yeah, at the end, you're a 12-year-old with like 2 billion yen. So like, like buy anything.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I definitely didn't get her to this time, but I have in the past, and it was just a nice little to go to her, and she's like, "I've got this much for you." I would have liked it to accrue interest or something.
On the note of her in your house, I was genuinely disappointed to not find an item waiting for me in the PC at the start. Like, just log on here and get my potion. What? It's nothing in here. Just annoyed as a.
Hold on, I got a fucking baby crying.
This is still in. The rest of the podcast did not go well.
What's going in there? All right, so we'll move on to something we've alluded to a little bit, and that's because we played through, we all decided we would do a different starter. So I think we'll now stump for our favourite starter. So I chose last. I let the other two choose first, and mine was the grass type Chikorita. I believe Simpson, because he hadn't played it before, got the first pick, and he took Totodile, and Easy quickly snapped up Cyndaquil. So, Easy, you want to stump for Cyndaquil for a little bit?
Yeah, man. I think Cyndaquil's pretty easily, if I do say so myself, the best starter in Gen 2. Dominates out of like 4 out of the 8 gyms in that first region, so yeah, pretty damn strong. And yeah, doesn't really struggle against the others. You don't have like a water type gym or anything like that. Obvious that, really does sort of too much there. It's probably an easy choice after Simpson took Totodile. I've never been much of a grass type battler, to be fair, and I think probably fairly easily replicated with not real, I don't much of a muchness of a lot of those grass types to me in terms of like what they look like and things like that. I do always have a soft spot for the water type. I think my first playthroughs I had Totodile, turns into Feraligatr, doesn't it? So that was what I had to run with, and yeah, it's good bit of fun, but yeah, the fire type just dominates here. I never really used to be a Charmander starter or anything like that, but yeah, having a playthrough with this one, it's pretty dominant, I feel. You can team it up with another couple of varied types and get through those opening gyms like fairly simply. Like looking at them, you dominate the bird gym when you get to Violet City. Bug type in Azalea Town, you dominate. Still pretty good against the normal type. It's probably about as good as any others, to be fair. But then, yeah, you get into, ice, easy, steel, pretty easy. So
Easy all round.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I'll be fair. Its moveset's like pretty boring. You get Flame Wheel and Ember, just like two pretty much the exact same moves. Just fire that burns you a bit more. Quick attack's always nice, but like that's all you need really. You're pretty much like playing matchups with it. If it's not like weak against fire, you put something else out. So yeah.
Simpy, what about Totodile?
I was a bit of a fan of Totodile. Alligator, I believe is how you say it. Was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed playing with it. I probably because I'm a Squirtle man. So I always used to start with Squirtle when I was a kid, when I played Gen 1. So I'm water type, definitely. I think if I could go through again, I wouldn't have chosen it, only for the fact that I love a Gyarados. And so I had kind of two water types were my two strongest Pokemon. A bit silly at the end of the day. But I found it pretty straightforward to get through most of the gyms. Totodile was quite strong, had some good moves. I probably wasted a bit of Relegator's efforts I gave it 2 HMs. Surf, which I love. I think Surf's a great move. I've always been a fan. Whirlpool, I didn't know what it did. It sucked. I was like, oh, that'll be quite cool. I'm sure it's a good move. And then it was awful. Like, only took away, like 10 health points from majority of Pokemon when I was battling them. It does stay around. It obviously takes like 10 and then 5 and then whatever. But yeah, that was pretty awful. So that probably wasted the abilities a little bit. But I enjoyed it. I definitely wouldn't have gone grass no matter what. I don't like a grass Pokemon. I would never even have them even in any of my 6 Pokemon. Not a fan. But yeah, probably next time I think if I was going to do it again, I would have gone Cyndaquil as well, purely just because of the Pokemon that I like to use are predominantly like dragon water kind of Pokemon. So I was kind of stacked in the water category.
You need to get to that move deleter, Simbi. Delete that Whirlpool.
Move.
Yeah, I got to him and I didn't really know what the hell to do, so I just didn't do it.
I know I'm sidetracking a bit here, but on those 2 new HMs, like, why bother? You got to put something new in the game. Got to have another ability that they need to use to get somewhere. Waterfall used like once.
Yeah, and some water Pokemon could do Waterfall but not Whirlpool, and some could do Surf but not Whirlpool. It was really bizarre. I actually thought, I didn't mention it earlier, but in the game in general and certain things, I was a bit disappointed with the HMs and how to get them. Like, one of the HMs, you just talk to a random sailor who's just in the middle of the road. There was no like story part of the story. It was just like, oh, we've got to get the player an HM here. How are we going to do it, basically?
Yeah. And I would much rather in each city, like go into a random house and stumble down a tunnel and there's actually a little like thing down here that I've got to fight a few people, than just grinding away on like random Pokemon and not having more of a story. And like you say, if you don't do that little thing and find it, you don't get the HM and then you can't advance and da-da-da. Versus like, oh yeah, you just get it and here you go and beat this gym leader, now you can use it. Yeah, it gets a bit boring.
Chikorita is definitely, like, don't get me wrong, I got a lot of stick from one Ben Simpson about Bulbasaur being my favourite Gen 1 starter, and I wholeheartedly stand by that. And I do like grass types. I'm self-confessed, I do like stalling the opponent with sleep powder, poison powder. Meganium / Chikorita / Bayleaf is a fucking dud starter, man.
It's a dud.
It is a dud. And it is not only a dud in comparing to the other two and the moves and stuff that it has has 0 gyms that it is good against. And it's bad against a lot of gyms.
No idea.
So it's Chikorita, very cute. Definitely the cutest of them all. I don't really like the Meganium, what it looks like, the design of it. Whereas I really like Feraligatr and Typhlosion.
Yeah, they're cool looking, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, so Chikorita, definitely a dud. I think you're probably 1 and 2, either Typhlo. I think probably most people tend towards fire just because there's more water types available, probably. But Chikorita are long last.
If you like, I started with Totodile, and so Gary, my rival, had Chikorita. Is it different? Like, so that's quite maybe a benefit of going Totodile is that Gary gets a dud.
They always pick the one that's.
And I guess, of course, they do the one that's supposed to be better against it. But I didn't find Meganium at all an issue.
Sucks.
Yeah, I like when you've got fire there, obviously water like very good against fire in that matchup. But like by the time you fight him, say the second time when you know those moves, you got someone else who can beat his, Totodile or Croconaw or whatever it is at that time. And like I always have a Pokemon that I can teach like Thunder to or a Thunder move to that's like a secondary type, just because I just find it so key having that. Like Haunter was on my team. And if you play at the game corner and buy that TM, just giving Haunter Thunder, just to you have that on your thing that can just dominate any water Pokemon. It's pretty good. By the way, cheesing the game corner, so easy on an emulator.
Oh, in what way?
Just play the card flip one and pick the card, then quick save, turn the card, get it wrong, load, find the right one. Just
what a dad.
Spend 20 hours in the game corner or an hour. Of course.
But Simpson, we missed a trick here. I've been calling him Deezy all the time. We should be calling him Cheesy the whole time.
Oh mate, that's terrible. I thought you would be more of a Flaffy fan for your Thunder move.
Oh yeah, definitely had Flaffy and Mareep on my squad for a little bit there.
I'm glad you bought.
Simpson not even saving it at all. Just save before you fight that Gyarados, mate. What are you up to?
You're not going to go back. You can't go back.
Yeah, no, I'm with Simpson.
Mate.
Especially when you're doing a Nuzlocke. It's once they're dead, it's dead, mate. I'm glad you mentioned Flaffy, because now we're going to talk about and we're going to finish with our 3 favorite Gen 2 Pokemon. Now, this could be its design, it could be because it's really strong. I'm kind of going at mine from a design perspective, but they're also not shit. They're good Pokemon. So we'll just go round table and do our 3rd favorite, and then we'll leave our favorite one till last. And I think we have to reveal if ours gets taken before. So Simpson, do you want to give us your 3rd favorite Gen 2 design or just Pokemon?
Yeah. I don't know how to say the name, but I'm going to assume it's Zatu.
Oh, yeah, I think it's Zatu. Natu is the little birdie that turns in. No, that's the evolved form of Natu.
Yeah, I really liked it because it's psychic and flying. Two things I quite like. I quite like some flying moves are quite good. And then I definitely like the psychic moves that it can do. And so, because of those 2 types, I was definitely a fan of that one. That would be my 3rd.
Quite hard to find, but I do like the design. It's not in my top 3. Deezy?
Yeah, 3rd one for me, and this would be based just solely on the design. I didn't actually need to use this Pokemon at all just because of having Cyndaquil. But the Houndour Houndoom combo I quite like as well. Similar to the Growlithe Arcanine, spin-off in the earlier gen in Gen 1. But the dark and fire types I can remember being quite fun on my first playthrough when I had Totodile there. Having bite and things like that can cause, a flinch and that sort of stuff, but also the fire aspect is having that quite cool fire Pokemon. So I quite liked that, and the evolved version, I think it's Houndoom with the horns. I think looks pretty.
It's a very, very, very cool looking Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll go that for my number 3 at the moment.
Yeah, that was my number 2.
I didn't
So
have it.
I won't reveal my number 3 yet. I'll come around and do it next. But just on Houndoom, I think the last person that you fight, whatever is after the Elite Four, has a Houndoom that's really difficult. Like it's quick and a very high level, like level 50 odd, 57 or something. And I had a lot of trouble beating that. I lost a few good Pokemon.
I think Karen in the Elite Four has one, but are you talking about after that?
Maybe that is the one I'm talking about. It's late in the
I
Elite
think
Four.
hers is pretty good. Yeah, last one of the Elite Four. Yeah, definitely good.
Yeah, Houndoom, definitely. Simpy, number 2?
Yeah, so my number 2 is a very random one. I don't reckon you guys are definitely not going to have it. Pseudo Udo.
That's in my
worst.
Yeah, that's my worst.
I
I
was
hate that
scared.
Pokemon.
It just cracked me up. I thought it was hilarious, so it just cracked me up. So I was kind of like, that one, it was good. I enjoyed it. And also it could learn Rollout, which after I took on Miltank, Rollout was just a move that I wanted to have with the Pokemon, and it was the only Pokemon I had at the time that could learn that. I was like, I'll give it to that one. And it's not bad. If you get it quite a high level, it's actually quite strong.
I admit, it's the first time that I realised that it was a play on words.
What do you mean?
Pseudo wood. It's not a. It's not. It's a rock Pokemon. Pseudo.
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah, pseudo
Yeah.
woodo.
Hey, there you go. You learn something new every day, don't you? They always say.
Deezy, you're number 2. Oh, you're number 2, yeah.
I tell you what really gave me a problem, and just because I haven't got its starter, I don't have one in my team. But Umbreon, the EV evolution, tricky to say the least. I think from Karen, because at least with like the Houndoom and stuff, I had some Pokemon that knew Surf, I had Hydro Pump, like things like that. Umbreon, that dark type, but doesn't really have much of a weakness. I think it's weak to like Fairy and something else, or like I don't think Dark in itself is like weak to much. So yeah, I remember that causing me a bit of trouble, and it looks fairly sleek.
It's got high HP.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Like it was quite hard to whittle down. Yeah, there I'll go Umbreon there, just in terms of difficulty to fight and also the look. Yeah, it's cool looking Pokemon. I think.
I'll just snip back to my number 3. Glad it hasn't been mentioned. It is a bit of an under the radar, but Chinchou and the Lantern, which is water/electric, high HP. I just like the water electric combo for some reason. Lantern, it's nice. It's got that little light out the front. To be honest, I don't like a lot of the Gen 2 Pokemon, so Lantern is one that I really wanted to get. I couldn't get it in the Nuzlocke, but I'll try and get it whenever I can. Number 1, Simpy, you going to let us down again?
Probably. I quite like Sneasel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sneasel's good.
Dark and Ice is a great combo.
Did you get a Sneasel?
I didn't get one, but I saw a few, obviously.
Turns into a Weevil.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what Sneasel's supposed to be. Like, I can pick what most of the Pokemon are supposed to be, but what's
like a squirrel, maybe? I don't know. It looks cool. Like, I like the look of it.
Isn't it like a take on like Weasel, Sneasel?
Ah, yeah. Sneasel looks cooler than Weevil.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sneasel was cool looking actually. Yeah.
Easy. That number 1.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be many people that agree with this, but often that's what I say. My number 1 I'm going with is Donovan. Fan of Donovan. Different looking Pokemon there. Not everyone's cup of tea, but pretty strong. A bit slow, so you got to put like Quick Claw or something like that on there just to give you that, starter's chance to get the first hit in. I'll be honest, its moveset's pretty basic, but as Simpy
You're really selling it.
as Simpy said, it's got rollout. Whack a good
Yeah.
defense curl on, and then hit him with rollout, and you're doing pretty well most of the time. Learns Earthquake fairly late on in the piece, but you also acquire an Earthquake TM fairly early on in the game as well, which I didn't give to anyone else. And Earthquake's a very powerful ground move. So yeah, bit of Earthquake, bit of defense curl, bit of rollout. You're away laughing, mate. She's strong. She's strong. That elephant.
Yeah, I don't know if this is. I think most people like this one, but you guys might not. They tried hard with Pinsir in Gen 1, but they really hit it with Heracross, the fighting bug. Absolute beast. Love
Yeah,
how it
sure.
looks. Yeah, it's really like one of the highest attacks in the game. But it's a nutty. I like a nutty, like Simpson's psychic flying. I like a bug fighting. That's real crazy.
Very
And it just
random.
and it looks cool. Real hard to get. You have to headbutt a few trees, but it was worth it. Just to shout out honorable mentions to the. I really like the extra evolved forms of some of the Pokemon from Gen 1. Kingdra, which is Seadra turns into Dragon Water. Crobat is a very good Pokemon, the Golbat evolved form via friendship. Slowking, which is hard to get unless you can trade. I think it's got to have King's Rock or something. Sizer, which is another trade from Scyther, turns into a Steel Bug. And Steelix, the another trade, which is the Onyx, makes Onyx from being a really worthless Pokemon to a very good Pokemon. Any duds before we finish? Any real duds that you guys didn't like? Sim?
Giraffe Fig or whatever it's called.
Oh,
What the hell is that? That
it was on
Pokemon's.
my. That just missed my short list of top Pokemon, mate.
I'm with you, Sim.
That's an awful Pokemon. I didn't understand that one. I didn't like it. I didn't want anything to do with it.
Weird
Mareep,
type too.
wasn't a huge fan of Mareep either, just because, like, it's a sheep. Like, Mareep, come on. Like, work a bit harder, please. Like,
That's on my list. So I actually quite like Mareep and Flaffy. But I'm like, what the hell is Ampharos? It goes from a sheep to not a sheep.
yeah, it's a
Like
good
a
point.
person-looking sheep. Yeah,
Mm,
with a long also neck thing.
yeah.
I've got one more if you don't mind me jumping in.
Go for it.
Stantler.
Oh, yeah. Stantler's the dud.
Yes, Stantler's random. Yeah, Stantler is.
I had a Stantler for a while because I was like, I'm obviously trying to do with the new Pokemon. And they just had no good moves and was just boring. So I kind of got rid of it very quickly.
Yeah, it sucks. DZ?
Yeah, there's a lot of duds we could get to.
Lot of duds.
Yeah, a lot more than Gen 1. I mean, taking unknown out of the equation, or unknown, or whatever the hell that thing is. Pineco, it was a real winner. Pinecone. What?
Yeah, that sucks.
I know you'd have a soft spot for this one, Splenny, after cracking a few rocks on the beach, but ever found any shuckles while you were looking under those rocks? No, the shuckle, little turtle one that was pretty bad. There's some real bad like fish and bug ones, but Lidiba, bit of a dud as well.
Corsola.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a dud.
I quite like the Teddy Ursaring. Looks cool, I reckon.
Yeah, Ursaring was good.
My only one there's two that haven't been mentioned. I don't like Murkrow, that friggin' magician looking. It's like that bird with a friggin' top hat, and Ipom and Ambipom, which you get if you headbutt trees. It's like this monkey that's like got big hands
and tails. Yeah.
Yeah, shit design, shit Pokemon.
What eggs did you guys crack? Speaking of shit Pokemon, definitely a Togepi for me.
Togepi for me.
I think that's the
Ugh.
only one you do, isn't it?
Nah, can you? Oh, I thought you could genuinely get those other ones like Elekid and stuff like that. There's like those other
You can
baby
catch
ones. But...
them. Oh, maybe not.
okay.
They're definitely in the game, those babies. Smooch them, etc.
Mm.
Hey, guys, absolute pleasure.
Bloody
You've
hell.
done a great job, and I've really enjoyed this podcast.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to take this challenge on and waste the last 2 months of my life.